Perfect thumbs up sign. Now I'll give you the complete rewritten script in English, divided into 3 full parts, each approximately 800 plus words, written in an emotionally powerful, higher-attention YouTube storytelling style. Part 1. The photograph on the wall. Tilda 850 words. Ethan Carter never imagined that a routine delivery would unravel a secret powerful enough to rewrite his entire life. It was a cold autumn morning when he stepped out of his aging sedan and looked up at the towering glass skyscraper of Sterling Tech. The building reflected the gray sky like a monument to a world he didn't belong to, a world of tailored suits, quiet elevators, and conversations measured in profit margins instead of heartbeats. Ethan adjusted the worn strap of his delivery bag and exhaled slowly. This was just another drop-off. In and out. 5 minutes. But nothing about that morning would remain ordinary. 4 years. Ethan had lived in survival mode. Since his wife Emma passed away shortly after Lily's birth, it had been just the 2 of them. Hospital bills piled higher than rent. His 7-year-old daughter's rare heart condition turned every cough into panic, every sleepless night into a silent prayer. Lily was his entire world. Her laugh could light up their small apartment. Her tiny hand in his reminded him why he kept going, even when exhaustion clawed at his bones. He entered the Sterling Tech lobby and instantly felt invisible. The marble floors gleamed. Crystal light fixtures shimmered overhead. Employees walked briskly with tablets in hand, never once glancing at the delivery man standing near the reception desk. He forced a polite smile and signed a clipboard. As he waited for clearance to access the executive floor, his eyes wandered across the hallway walls lined with corporate awards and abstract art. And then he froze, because between 2 expensive paintings hung a small, simple gold frame. And inside it was Lily, not someone who looked like her, not a similar child. It was her, the same warm brown eyes, the same slightly crooked smile, the tiny scar above her eyebrow from the day she tripped at the playground. Even the faint dimple on her left cheek was unmistakable. Ethan's breath caught in his throat. This had to be a mistake. He stepped closer. The closer he got, the more certain he became. That was the exact photo he had taken on her 7th birthday. The same yellow dress. The same sunlight behind her. His heart began pounding so violently he could hear it in his ears. "Excuse me," he said, his voice unsteady as he turned toward the assistant at the desk. "Why is my daughter's picture on your wall?" The young woman stiffened. Her eyes darted from Ethan to the frame, then toward the executive office behind the glass doors. She didn't answer, and her silence said more than words ever could. Before Ethan could press further, the elevator doors chimed open behind him. Footsteps approached, calm, measured, powerful. The hallway shifted. Employees subtly straightened as Victoria Sterling stepped into view. The CEO of Sterling Tech. Her name appeared on magazine covers. Her company funded billion-dollar innovations. She was known for her composure, sharp, precise, untouchable. But when her gaze landed on Ethan, she stopped. Her confident stride faltered, and when she followed his line of sight to the photograph on the wall, something in her expression cracked. For just a fraction of a second, the polished executive mask slipped, and in its place was something raw. Human. She looked at him carefully. "You're her father," she said softly. Not a question. A statement. The words hit Ethan like a physical blow. "How do you know my daughter?" he demanded, fear tightening his chest. "Who took that picture?" Victoria's eyes held his, steady but heavy with something unspoken. "Clear my schedule," she instructed her assistant calmly. Within seconds, the hallway emptied. The powerful CEO turned toward her office and opened the glass door. "Please," she said quietly, "we need to talk." Ethan hesitated only briefly. Then he followed her inside, because walking away was no longer an option. As the door shut behind them with a soft click, he realized something chilling. This wasn't coincidence. This wasn't decoration. This was a story that had been unfolding for 7 years without him knowing. And somehow, it centered around his daughter. Victoria didn't speak immediately after they entered her office. Sunlight streamed through floor-to-ceiling windows, casting long reflections across the polished wood desk. The city skyline stretched endlessly behind her, powerful, untouchable. Yet the room felt strangely personal. Framed photographs lined the shelves. Handwritten notes. Objects that hinted at a life beyond business deals. Victoria walked to a side table and gently picked up Lily's framed picture. Her fingers brushed across the glass. "She's beautiful," she said quietly. Ethan's jaw tightened. "You still haven't explained how you know her." Victoria nodded slowly. 7 years ago, my company partnered with a private pediatric research institute. They were studying rare genetic heart conditions, searching for patterns that could change treatment outcomes. At the words heart conditions, Ethan's stomach dropped. "Lily." Victoria opened a cabinet and removed a thin folder, placing it carefully on the desk between them. On the cover was a name printed in bold type, Lily Carter. Ethan's hands began to tremble. "Your wife, Emma," Victoria continued gently, "volunteered for a confidential genetic study during her pregnancy. It was legal, anonymous, approved by the hospital." Ethan's mind raced. Emma had mentioned additional screenings, late-night phone calls, extra appointments he hadn't fully understood. He had trusted the doctors. He had trusted her. "You've been tracking my daughter?" he asked, anger flickering in his voice. Victoria shook her head. "No, not tracking. Observing data, anonymously at first." She walked toward another shelf and turned a different frame toward him. A teenage boy with kind eyes and a shy smile stayed back. "This is my son, Daniel." Her voice changed when she said his name. He had the same rare condition Lily has. Ethan felt the air leave his lungs. "We didn't know in time," Victoria whispered. "One day he collapsed. Within hours, he was gone." The silence that followed was suffocating. For the first time, Ethan didn't see a billionaire CEO. He saw a mother who had buried her child. When Lily's medical profile appeared in the research data, Victoria continued, her voice trembling. "It felt like the universe was giving me another chance. Not to replace my son, but to save someone I couldn't save before." Ethan swallowed hard. "Then why didn't you contact us?" "The research agreement was legally binding. I wasn't allowed to intervene directly." She hesitated, and I was afraid. Afraid of what? That if I got close and something happened to her, I wouldn't survive losing another child. Her confession hung between them. The photograph on the wall suddenly made sense. It wasn't surveillance. It was longing, hope. Grief turned into silent prayer. But Ethan's unease hadn't disappeared. "If you knew all this," he said carefully, "why am I here now?" Victoria looked at him, and for the first time, there was something new in her eyes. Determination, because the research is no longer theoretical. And that was when everything changed again. Victoria opened her laptop and turned the screen toward him. Medical charts filled the display, advanced modeling data, and at the center of it all, Lily's name highlighted in bold. "We've developed an experimental procedure," Victoria explained. "A breakthrough treatment targeting the genetic mutation directly." Ethan stared at the words. "A cure?" he whispered. "A real chance," she replied carefully. Hope felt dangerous. Hope was something he had trained himself not to trust. "How much?" he asked quietly. Victoria hesitated. $200,000. The number struck him like a punch. He let out a hollow laugh. "I can barely afford her medication." Victoria stood and walked around the desk until she stood directly in front of him. "You won't pay for it." He looked up sharply. "I will," she said firmly. "Not as a business investment. Not as charity. As a mother." Emotion rose in Ethan's chest so suddenly he couldn't speak. For years, he had believed this fight belonged to him alone. But here stood someone who understood his fear more than anyone else ever could. Weeks later, Lily was admitted to the hospital for the procedure. The corridors that once felt like prisons now felt like pathways to possibility. Ethan held her small hand every night. Victoria visited quietly, never intruding, never claiming space that wasn't his. The surgery lasted hours. Each minute felt endless, until finally, a doctor emerged with exhausted eyes and a small, hopeful smile. It was successful. Ethan collapsed into a chair as tears streamed down his face. For the first time in 7 years, fear loosened its grip. Months later, Lily ran across a park without gasping for breath. Her laughter echoed freely through the air. Ethan watched her in disbelief. Beside him stood Victoria, not as a CEO, not as a benefactor, but as someone quietly woven into their lives. Lily ran toward them and grabbed both their hands without understanding the history that connected them. And Ethan realized something profound. The strongest families aren't always formed by blood. Sometimes they are built by shared pain, courage, and compassion. Back at Sterling Tech, Lily's photograph still hung on the office wall, but its meaning had changed. It was no longer a symbol of grief. It was proof that fate can be rewritten. One evening, as Ethan prepared to leave after the visit, he paused at the doorway. "Why did you really keep a picture all these years?" he asked softly. Victoria smiled gently. "Because sometimes," she said, her eyes resting on the frame, "the people we think we're watching are actually the ones saving us." As Ethan stepped into the city night, he understood the shocking truth wasn't that a billionaire knew his daughter. It was that compassion had built a bridge between two broken hearts. And on that bridge, a miracle had been born.